Hi there, it's Laura here from Get Organized HQ, and we probably all have smartphones, and let's face it, if we are not careful, they can easily pretty much take over our life. And I want to show you how you can be the boss of your smartphone instead of letting it control you. And there are lots of tips and tricks that are going to make it to where it's much harder for you to end up wasting an hour on your phone and not knowing where it went. I do want to mention that a lot of the advice I'm going to be sharing has nothing to do with what type of phone you have, whether you have an iPhone or an Android, but there are some things specific to the operating system and software that I'm going to show you how to do, and I will be using an iPhone to demonstrate that. In many cases, you can do the same thing on an Android. You're just going to have to look up how you would do it for your specific phone. The first thing you want to do when using your phone effectively is not to let it hold you back. So not to get sucked into the distractions and the distracting apps at times when you really don't want to, and not to let endless time go by mindlessly using your phone. So here's a few ways you can make sure that you control your phone instead of letting it control you. And these first few ways are things that anybody with any phone can do, and they're not even techie at all. First, pay attention to where you physically leave your phone. A lot of us carry our phones around with us like literally everywhere, even to the bathroom. Now, if your phone is right beside you all the time, it is going to be way easier to pick it up when you're stressed for a mindless distraction or immediately respond to a notification when you really don't need to. So a lot of times I actually leave mine on my charger that's in my bedroom, but I'm like in my kids' playroom playing with them or hanging out with them on the couch, or I'm outside with them and I don't take my phone with me, or I'm in the kitchen cooking. So just leaving it to where it's not right within reach will help you maybe think twice before you reach to it. That's really simple, but it can be really effective. Consider what I call a media fast. That's where you actually take a preset amount of time, I would suggest roughly a week, and you set up rules for yourself during that week in which you don't consume the media that you normally would. Now, I think the more the merrier when it comes to this, just even to see what impact different media and social media and TVs and books and all the things that you can access on here has on you. But it's all up to you. You can make your own rules, and I actually have an entire video on this that I link down below, so you can check that out if you're interested in doing something like this. Set up some screen-free times for yourself. So have at least some part of your day or your week that is designated to be screen-free. And again, combine that with the first thing I said, and during that time, get your phone away from you and just know that this is screen-free time. A lot of people do this during mealtime, especially dinner. If you're having a family dinner, this is screen-free time. And pretty much any type of text or phone call or notification can wait 30 minutes to at most an hour while you're eating dinner. It's usually not that urgent. So go ahead and put your phones away during whatever your designated screen-free time is. Your phone actually has several built-in tools to help you control your amount of screen time and monitor your activities on your phone. And my absolute favorite is the built-in screen time report on your iPhone. Now, if you have another type of phone, you may have to Google how to do this or see if it has this feature, but let me show you how to use this on an iPhone, and it is a total game changer. So I just have my phone here, and I am going to pull down. This is how I like to find apps. I'm going to type in settings, and I'm going to go to my settings. And then you'll see here, it has a thing called screen time. So if you tap on that, it's going to give you your screen time report. I also have this notify me every week with my weekly screen time report, so I have to pay attention to it. Well, let me tell you, this is incredibly eye-opening. It's also slightly embarrassing that I'm going to share it with you. I don't actually know what it says, so we'll be finding out here together how my screen time was. Okay, first of all, this is just crazy. So my daily average last week, so I think this is pulling from I think it goes through Saturday, so like Sunday through Saturday, was 2 hours and 5 minutes. And that's down 33%. So the week before, I obviously had more. On the graph, it's going to show me all of my different days and how much. So I can see that for whatever reason on Thursday, I had a lot more screen time. And when I go to see all activity, I can see activity by day or all together by week. And so I really like to look at the week. And then when you go down here to most used and you show categories, this is going to show you like information and reading, creativity, productivity, and finance. I don't find that as useful as to show me the specific apps, and it goes in most used to least used. So Kindle, I was reading a book. I spent an hour and a half total that week doing that. My camera app, I spent 1 hour and 20 minutes, and that was because I was filming YouTube videos. So it's actually really helpful to me. I don't count that as screen time, like the camera is on me and I'm filming videos. So that helps me to know. Sometimes I'll have a week where it's really high, but I filmed a ton of videos. And even when I have like fancy cameras, I usually am using my phone as a backup. The next one was the Bible app, an hour and 17 minutes. I actually like reading my Bible on my phone. And a lot of times when I'm in church, I actually take out my phone. So that was my third. Then photos, I spent 48 minutes looking at photos. A lot of that was probably also work related. To get like the video clips on. I spent 42 minutes on music. So that was just when my music app was open and I was listening to music. 41 minutes on Slack, that's talking to the people who work for me. 40 minutes just browsing Chrome, who knows what that is. A specific website, that's my own site, was 39 minutes. You can see how much I spent on maps. Okay, this is really embarrassing, y'all. I spent 27 minutes on the Crumble Cookie app. Now, I don't think I actually was staring at the app for 27 minutes. I think I was thinking about going and I opened the app to see what their flavors are because they change every week. And then I just set it down in the car so the screen was open. Obviously, the phone only knows what apps are open. It has no way of knowing if you're actually looking at them or if it's just open and you set your phones down. A game, YouTube, Boxer, all these things. You can also look by specific day. So today, for example, oh my goodness, I've already had 2 hours and 12 minutes of screen time today, and it is 2:45 p.m. But okay, I don't feel so bad. The app that I used the most was my Bible app, 54 minutes, and that was because I went to a Bible study this morning, and I had it open and was using it. And then we have Slack, my website, Kindle, all those other things. So if you have not checked this out, please do, because it is so helpful. And you can even look at previous weeks like this. So I highly recommend using that and maybe even getting those reports so that you have a starting point and you can actually see if there's something that you're spending a lot of time on, but you don't realize it, and vice versa. Maybe you're spending all your time on your phone app or your messages app, which might be fine with you. Another huge help that iPhone has built in is what is called screen time limits. So they have some tools that are designed to help you if you want to set limits. So you're going to do the same thing that we just did. You're going to go to your settings. You're actually going to go to your same place, your screen time, which makes sense. And instead of looking at your activity, I want you to go to the next section here, and I'm going to show you some of the different things that you can do. So downtime, you can schedule time away from your screen. So you can do it just one time, or you can schedule it regularly. I like this one. You can just turn it off, or you can schedule it like every day from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. I used to have that for when I was supposed to be sleeping. I didn't want notifications. I didn't want anything like that. And during this time, it actually tells you only apps that you choose to allow or phone calls will be available. So you can say during downtime, I can only use these apps. So you could say no apps, like I'm not allowed to use any apps. Or you could say like maybe you're allowed to use your Bible apps to read the Bible, or your Kindle app because you're okay with reading, but you don't want to use social media. So you can be really, really specific. And again, you can schedule these in every day. And I just think the scheduling of them makes it so much easier. You don't have to think, you don't have to do anything. And it doesn't make it literally impossible. You can still get to them, but there's some hoops you have to go through, and it's going to make you pause before you try to go to one of those apps. I also love this, and I used to do this when I was really into Instagram and I was using it too much. Now, I haven't been on Instagram now for like months, but you can set up a specific limit here for a specific app. So in social, if, for example, I wanted to select Instagram here and I was like, I don't want to be on Instagram too much, maybe I could like select Facebook as well. So I've selected those and I'm adding limits. They will only apply to this device. It won't like apply across like my computer and iPad and things like that. And so I could say, for example, that I want to make sure that I spend no more than 30 minutes on that app. I could also customize the day. So maybe on weekdays, I want it to be different than weekends. You can do that as well. I would leave it on all days. And then once I do that, I have that limit set and it'll warn me when I have 5 minutes left. And then once it expires, I would have to enter my passcode in order to get to it. So it's not like you absolutely can't, but it adds a little bit of a barrier. You can also set communication limits based on your contacts. So maybe you want an alert when you've talked to a certain person. You can choose apps, like safe apps that are always allowed. So no matter what settings, these apps are going to work. And you can also block inappropriate content. So there's a lot of things that you can do, but I just think if nothing else, consider using the downtime. That's kind of like a bedtime, or if say you eat dinner at the same time every day and that's when screen free time is, in addition to putting your phone off to the side and not making it accessible, you can also make it to where it would be harder to use it during that time. And another suggestion for not letting your phone hold you back is a lot of people will take their apps and you can arrange your apps the way you want on different screens. And a lot of people have like a very last screen and they will move all the apps that they want to think twice about to the last screen. So you could think about doing something like that as well. Next, I want you to consider your notifications. And notifications are a huge part of how you interact with your phone. And so the first way our phone notifies us is like you can have something pop up, buzz, ding, make a sound. You can also have those little numbers on the side of the icons that says like in red, 707, 1007, I don't know, whatever it says. And those are also very powerful psychological reminders that make you feel like you need to do something with the app. So one of the top ways that I make sure that I am not letting my phone control me is I allow incredibly few notifications. I just don't need them. Like I do not need to know every single time someone comments or likes my Instagram post. When I am ready to check Instagram, I will go look at it myself, but I don't need my phone buzzing for that. I don't need to know every time I make a sale on Shopify or way back when on Etsy. When I want to look at that, I can go look at that. I don't need to know every time every store has a sale and it's popping up with all these notifications. So I don't even need to know about my emails. So basically, the notifications that I personally allow, and I will talk about the tech of how to set this up if you don't know that in just a minute, is my phone. Like if someone calls, I would like it to ring or buzz or whatever. I would also like to know about my text messages, so I get notified of those. It would make a sound if it was not on silent mode, which it almost always is, but it also buzzes on my watch, so I know when I get a text. And then in addition to that, there are very, very few apps that I allow notifications for. The ones that I do are like Uber or Lyft. So like I want those, and I'm only using those when I'm traveling. I think a couple of the airlines, I may have allowed that for like when I was flying. If I DoorDash or do like, grocery delivery, I will let those pop up for that. But a lot of times I text you as well. But that's about it. No social media, no email. And so very rarely is my phone buzzing at me or dinging at me or anything like that. In addition to that, I also disable those little red bubbles on most of my apps. I don't need to know that I have 112 unread Instagram comments or something. It just doesn't help me. It stresses me out. So that helps tremendously. So in order to do that, I'm going to go to the same settings app that I keep using. And you can actually control your notifications quite a bit for any app, including their built-in apps. But I'm going to go to one of these. Most of the ones that you're going to really want to control are like all these extra apps. And by the way, I probably should declutter my apps. I haven't done that in a while. So we're going to go to this one. And when it goes to notifications, you'll see how they're off. So every time I download a new app, I make sure those notifications are off. But I'm going to tap here. And if I wanted to allow notifications, what I could do is say immediate delivery, scheduled delivery. So I actually like this. I do this sometimes with my Voxer app when I have a lot of people voxing me and I don't want to constantly get those buzzes. I'll do a scheduled delivery for like 8 a.m., 10 a.m., noon, 3, 7, 10 or something. So you can totally put them in a scheduled summary. You can also change whether they show up on your lock screen, just your notification center, so that it wouldn't like pop as a banner. You could say, I don't want a sound. All of those different options are available to you. So you can just play around with this and it is really incredible. One of the things that iPhone has done over the years is made it so much more customizable what kind of alerts you get. But if right now, what I recommend you do, and I don't know of a magic way to do this faster, if you do, please let us know in the comments so we'll save everybody some time. But go to every single one and just turn them off. That is all I recommend. Go to the next one. Make sure that this one doesn't even have notifications. They don't all have notifications. Again, if they don't have them, they're not going to show up there. But again, mine are all off, but you would go and switch every single one to off. I think you don't need any of them. And if you do, you can always turn them back on. In addition to that, let's go to something like Instagram. Wow, I do have a lot of these apps. Okay. You'll see that all of my notifications are off, but if I were to allow them, the badges means that I would see those right here when I go to my Instagram. So let's see, like this little one here, I would see it on my Instagram. So if you want to turn those off, that's how you would do that. And I actually highly recommend that you do that. So you're not going to see like that little bubble up there if you turn those off, because those also are going to make it hard to ignore. And you just feel compelled to check it out if you have that little red bubble, so you can turn those off. Another way to control your notifications is with what we call focus mode, and I absolutely love focus mode. So wherever you are, whenever, no matter what other settings you have on your phone, all you need to do is swipe down here on the right if you have an iPhone and tap focus mode. Now, right here, I am already in focus mode for work because I'm filming this and I don't want like phone calls and beeps and buzzes and texts even to show up on the screen while I'm working. And it defaults in do not disturb to where like you won't hear phone calls, you won't hear texts, you won't even see those notifications pop up on the screen. So you'll get minimal interaction, which I think is fantastic. However, you can actually customize this. So you can say, I want to have this on for 1 hour until this evening. And then in your settings, this is what I think is really, really neat. So maybe for work, you would like to receive calls if your boss calls you, for example. So you could click here and allow specific people to contact you when you're in that focus mode. So like if I put one person, like say I put George, I don't actually have a George in my phone, but let's just say that I allowed George, then everything else would stay off, but if George called or texted me, that would show up. That would alert me. You can allow only specific apps. So much you can do. And you can also put it on a schedule. So like maybe you work 9 to 5 every day. You can set up your work focus mode from 9 to 5. Or you could even set it up from like 9 to noon. And then when you're on your lunch break from noon to 1, maybe it's off. And then 1 to 5, you have it on. So that's how the focus modes work. And one of the things that I like is that there's all these different ones. So there's a default do not disturb, there's a driving, sleep, work, and personal. So you can customize each of these. So maybe you want on sleep, maybe you would like your spouse to be able to call you, for example, or your kids if they're old enough to call you if you're sleeping, but no one else. That would make a lot of sense. So you can set all those things up. I also want to point out, I'm not going to go into the tech of how to do this here. If you want a tutorial on that, go ahead and let me know in the comments. But you can set it up to where it would ring on the second or third attempt to call you, which I think is awesome. So like if you have a sleep mode, especially if you're a light sleeper and you don't want just any call bothering you, or maybe you go to bed kind of early when people are still texting and things, you can set it up such that like I could say, if my husband calls me twice within 15 minutes, I want it to ring. So, and I could tell him that. So he would know, like, hey, if he just calls me once and it's 9 o'clock and I happen to be in bed and he doesn't need anything and he's away, then no biggie. Like, I don't hear it, he doesn't need anything. But if he calls me a second time, then that's something urgent that I would need to answer. So you can also set that up. There's so many things that you can do to make your phone really work for you. I also want to point out that you can give specific people certain ringtones so you know who is calling you before you even look at your phone, which can be handy if it's like a known ringtone, you might want to get up and answer it, versus if it's just a generic ringtone, you might not bother. So here I have gone to my contact and I clicked edit, and you'll see that I can change both her ringtone and her text tone. So I could change it to any one of these built-in ringtones if I wanted to. So I could change it. This is just on the default, but I could change it to this one. It's going to give me a little example. This is the generic one. And you could do the same for texting. The next thing you need to do is go check out my video about how to use your reminders on your phone most effectively. It's actually really important so that your reminders will actually help you get things done rather than just be something that you click snooze or ignore on.